Good afternoon. That was loud. Good afternoon. Today is Monday, September 9th, 2024. It's 5 o'clock. We're here for the regular trustee meeting. If you could join me with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have an agenda before us. Are there any changes or additions?
No, sir.
I make a motion to approve the agenda for the September 9th, 2024 meeting as presented.
Second.
I would also recommend amending that to excuse Trustee Wallace.
And to excuse Ms. Wallace from tonight's meeting.
Still second.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
I make a motion to accept the general ledger report in the amount of $344,155.31 for the September 4th, 2024 payroll.
Second.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
I make a motion to accept the payments listing report in the amount of $431,348.90 for warrants through September 9th, 2024.
Second.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes. This time we have minutes before us from the August 26th regular trustee meeting. Are there any questions, changes? If not, we have a motion to approve the minutes from August 26th as presented.
Make a motion to accept the August 26th, 2024 regular trustee meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes. This time, we offer the podium to any citizens desiring to speak. Come on up if you can. Just give us your first name, last name, and your address, please.
My name's Noah Howard, and I live at 938 Shady Lane Avenue, or Shady Lane.
Sure.
And I'm just here on behalf of my girlfriend and her kids that live there. I don't know if you're aware of the water depletion of our wells in that area. Multiple homes, I believe, 3 weeks ago. We personally lost water pressure, and we were kind of supposed to come together as a community to meet up with and talk about what we were going to do. I don't think anything's gotten together so far, so I'm kind of here on behalf of like the community, saying that seeing what our options are, because some of the neighbors have already dropped their wells significantly, had new ones drilled, and or lowered their pumps.
Meaning drilled deeper.
Correct. And then also just finding out, I'm not here to find out who's to blame for the stolen water or depletion of the aquifers, if it's natural or new developers. But I'm just here saying, I know from, we went 3 weeks and I've called out multiple plumbers, and the plumbers are kind of acting like they don't want to come, like really nothing they can do is guaranteed because of the litigation that it might bring, because of everybody's having the same problem. And so that being said, I know there's a water main on the corner of Shady Lane, and I just want to propose if there's any idea that we could maybe tap into the city resources instead of drilling a well, because we don't want to act and lower our well, and the plumber's saying that that could be a Band-Aid on the problem, where the 200-foot approximately to drill a new well could cost upwards of $20,000 or around that problem. And I don't know what, if that water line, we can tap into the city and maybe just get a tap fee, or try to work out some kind of, because we have two special needs children in the house, and as of today, we don't have any water. So that's what we just wanted to come up here and let you guys know where we're at. and see
Appreciate
if we
you
could
taking the time to
just
do
ask for
that.
some help.
Yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate you taking the time. Thank you. On that topic, the county has been involved, the Beavercreek Township has been involved. The water source, wherever you see fire hydrants and you see public and raw water coming across Dayton Xenia Road, that is county water. It is not township or city, just FYI. And so tapping into that while our community development can assist, ultimately it's a county matter from that standpoint, not trying to pass the buck, just so you know who to call, is water and soil. So aquifer depletion there is a seasonality to that. And there's also other influences that can come into play, and sometimes it is construction and development, and sometimes it's not. The county, I know, has been involved, and there's a development going on east of you at the intersection of Hilltop and Treybine and Dayton Xenia. And they were assessing that to determine if that was a cause and effect. And from my understanding, it was determined it was not, but that doesn't help your situation. So empathetic, and would encourage you to continue to reach out to township staff, to community development at risk, and they can at least help get you in the right direction. As far as several homes coming together and trying to do a tap into public water, it comes down to when the wells are working, people generally don't want to. When the wells are not working is when there's an emergent situation, so.
The sustainability of the well.
Yeah.
In that area, the plumbers that I've talked to have said that it's been a problem for over 10 years.
Yeah, I've been a trustee since 2014, that's the first I've heard of it.
Okay.
Doesn't mean it hasn't been a problem, just means it hasn't gotten to that podium yet. But appreciate that. And there are a number of plumbers that are out there in the community, in Greene County specifically, and there's some well drillers that have done a lot of work in this region. So I would follow their guidance, but I would also reach out to the county and see if there's something they could do as far as if there's enough homes that want to tap in, then you might be able to do something. But appreciate you coming and making us aware. Thank you. Is there anyone else desiring to speak? If not, we'll move on. So, Mr. Rushing, we have no old business, no new business, but we do have a sheriff report.
Yes, Board, and apologies for the AV difficulty. Mr. Fessler is working on that as we speak. But first is the Greene County Sheriff's Office with their monthly reports in your packet. Sergeant Kessel is at FBI leadership training in Columbus for this week, but in his stead is Deputy Hostetler, who'd be happy to answer any general questions about Sheriff's Office operations or any particular call types that you may have, or at least be an ambassador for the Sheriff's Office.
Sure. Just if you can pass along our appreciation for the support that your department provides on a regular basis, but also at the Popcorn Festival. It was nice to see your team out there. So is there any awareness items that Sergeant Kessel sent as far as that we should be on the alert for?
No, sir, not when I had last spoken to him.
Okay. I know we've got some soccer events that'll be coming up, so we'll catch up with him. I think that Haunted Classic is in October, is that right?
Correct.
So maybe at the next meeting, we'll catch up with them. But appreciate you being here and appreciate what you do. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. We'll now move on to Human Resources. Mr. Jill Sink, our HR manager, is here with our monthly report.
Good evening, Board. I will say I attended the Popcorn Festival Saturday, and that was my first, and it was quite an event. I was surprised how bad the traffic was getting there. It wasn't stop traffic. It was just slow traffic all the way from the 75-35 merge into Beavercreek. So that surprised me. But it was very nice.
They do a good job, yeah. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of bodies. So as long as they all stay horizontal or vertical, we're good.
So one thing I'll highlight that I actually didn't include in the board report was I did continue with spending one day a month at the Public Service Department. So that was, I think I bumped it to a Thursday because I had some conflicts on Tuesday. I'll be there tomorrow as well. And I think we moved very quickly recently to get the new public service worker moving towards onboarding. So we should see him joining us this month. 2 firefighters joining us this month. And that's all a result of the work we put in last month. Made really good progress on the HRIS. I think Ms. Molden and I are gonna discuss tomorrow some of the pros and cons of the more expensive against the least expensive and drill into a cost-benefit analysis. So hopefully we can get that to a recommendation by the next meeting. As well, working on the Lexipol evaluation in terms of the applications to the township handbook. That would kind of run parallel to fire's usage of Lexipol. So those are things that I've been working on that aren't necessarily highlighted here. I think our injuries are reasonable at this point as compared to last year at this point. Hopefully, as we move forward, we can work on a few things to try to get those numbers down as well. Any questions?
Remind us, if you can, on the 3 options for HRIS that you're looking at, are any of those integrated to our existing system, as far as our accounting system?
Actually, UKG and Paylocity will both talk to VIP, the accounting system.
Okay,
And both systems have information readily available for download to a report to go to VIP
okay.
as needed.
And
Though we're not really looking at changing the way we do payroll, but for, in particular, Tori's data input process for new employees and VIP, the downloads would be helpful, as well as with benefits management and getting the proper withholdings entered into VIP, so.
Okay. And I would encourage, just always, whenever we're looking at something like this, is to have IT involved at some point, once you understand, you have the functional capability of, if you have 2 or 3 options that all do what you want, is there one that makes integration or communication easier? That might also tip the scale for you one way or the other.
Right.
So, okay. Do you have any other questions? Or?
I have no other questions.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next is a community development. Mr. Earhart is here with his monthly report and some updates.
Good evening, Board. We've issued about 24 permits last month for the month of August, various types, residential, fences, decks, that sort of thing. Neither Board, BZA, nor Zoning Commission had a meeting last month. We do have one coming up next Wednesday for the Board of Zoning Appeals to hear for a pool fencing variance, and then a couple of cases that are starting to come up for October and into November for the Zoning Commission. That's pretty much in a nutshell. You have the rest of my information there. You can see that our subdivisions are filling up. We keep getting new permits coming in every day. And that's pretty much it.
I received a call from a developer today appealing for township help. Essentially, had been waiting on getting phase 1 released, bond release.
Okay.
Essentially, it was the courtyards development. So the principal of the developer himself called, and he had reached out essentially to other developers along that same Treybine corridor, asking them, they've been allegedly, supposedly waiting 90 days, sent 7 emails, left 5 voicemails with the county engineer, 0 response. The inspector's been out and claimed that, had no idea why the engineer would not release the bond. So if there's anything you can do to help nudge that along, or at least inquire. There's always
Sure.
2 sides of every story, and usually, what's in the middle is the truth. So, everybody has their own version of, what's happening on the ground. So if you might just keep your ears tuned and maybe stay in touch with those, the developers throughout the township. Cause we've kind of got pockets of those types of problems, at least being reported in all different corners of the township.
So their time's up and their bond's still being held by the engineer?
Yeah, so the economics are that you pay interest.
Oh, yeah?
On that. And so there's a real carrying cost to it, as long as that continues to drag along. And if it's for a valid reason, it is what it is, and that's what I tell people. If it's because someone doesn't take the time to respond to an email or a voicemail, then it's shame on them.
I'll make some inquiries tomorrow.
Okay,
Thank
thank you. Otherwise, I had no other questions, but unless you had anything, you're good? Okay, you're fine.
I was leaving prematurely, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. We'll now move on to information technology. Our screens are working now, so they're working as we speak.
Timing is everything.
Mr. Fessler is here to answer any questions.
Why are our workstations only 76.9% fully patched? Out of curiosity. It wasn't meant to sound like an interrogation, but
No, so one of the things is that report looks at all assets we have, even if there's on-shelf spares or equipment that's offline, or in apparatuses that aren't there. So we're trying to determine we kind of looked at that, and this is historically shows up that way, is if we should redo that report to only show things that have been online within a certain time period, or
so
take
if
everything
you're
that's
showing
online.
something that's out of service, it's gonna count towards this or against
Because
this.
it didn't report in. Okay. Correct. But we can add to that if
That
you'd
was the only
like.
question I had. So,
Okay.
Yeah, from the practical perspective, I guess there's two sides of that, observation. One is from the workstations that are fully patched that are in service, I'm assuming is similar to the servers.
Correct,
Not
yeah.
just the work, so, and then the second piece would be if we have that many workstations that are out of service, is it because we're simply don't have people sitting in those seats, or because we don't need them any longer and we should surplus them off? And because we obviously don't want to pay for software for inactive devices.
Most of those actually come from the EOC next door, where those
Okay.
machines are there. They're not always left on.
Sure.
And so that number of machines, I don't remember the count, 10 or 11, does skew the report. And then we
Okay,
go in there, we turn them back on and make sure they get updated.
then they fire up. Okay, thank you. I had no other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. Next is the Finance Department. Finance Director, Ms. Molden, is on Teams. We're doing a little social distancing right now, but she'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Good evening.
Hi there. Did you have any questions?
I did not.
Where did all the money go, Ms. Molden?
Actually, I was going to report to you, I didn't report the interest. I was out of town at the beginning of the month, but we're year-to-date, interest is $511,000. And we're also getting a lot of money in for the opioid fund. We've received $102,000 this year.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep, I had no other questions other than the comments I made earlier with HR relative to just touching base with IT before we finalize a solution that works best from a functionality standpoint.
Sure.
Okay. Otherwise, get
Thank
better.
you.
Yep, hope you get well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, board. Next is Public Service Department, and Mr. John Schroeder is here. They've been busy doing a lot of curb replacement. A perfect picture is in front of you of their high-quality work for us.
Good evening. Before we use the monthly, to Mr. Rushing's point, that's a project we started last year, down here on Space Drive. All that curb and gutter was in very bad shape, so we have essentially replaced just a touch over a quarter mile with the curb and gutter, in the 2 years. So finally, we can put that project to rest and move on to some other things.
Okay. Great.
Are there any other questions I can answer for you?
Any other, I guess, points of awareness or anything as far as what might be coming up, preparedness for, as we move into fall and winter?
So with that being done, now we're into doing some patching, mill and fill. So we're patching a lot of areas on the asphalt roads that are broken down. And then once we get through that phase, then we will start crack sealing. So we'll seal all those patches up, the edges where the joints are. Then we're gonna go into some of our newer paved roads. So for instance, Orchard, Yellow Brick and Factory that we have paved last year, we're gonna crack seal those and then work backwards on our newest to oldest. That way we try to keep that new pavement, preserved and keep it in good condition. And then once we get through that, that'll take us, we'll have one more round of road mowing to do, before winter, and then one more round of street sweeping to do. We just finished a round of street sweeping,
Okay.
not too long ago, so that's our third round of street sweeping, if memory serves. So we're starting to kind of tidy up and button things up for the year. That was our big project that we've spent, we were down there quite a bit to do that curb and gutter.
When you, I had two questions. One was relative to South Alpha Bellbrook Road, and I had asked Mr. Rushing this Friday, I think, maybe. But, so we've got South Alpha as you go south of Indian Ripple. Is that where it's at? Yep. So as you go past Indian Ripple and you go south and you go towards Narrows Trace back in there, then it curves into Swigert. And then, but if South Alpha continues down into Bellbrook, so the portion of it that's essentially in the township, or half of it, one side's on the township, I guess, theoretically, that has not been, that's been repaved for months, but not restriped yet. And at night, it's pretty rough, especially in the rain in the night. So, and as leaves are coming down or start to come down, that's not gonna get better. So is that, I'm assuming that's county?
That is a county project. We've received some phone calls on that. They are scheduled here to start very shortly, getting that
Start striping,
put
yeah.
back in. And if memory serves, that's getting the, thermoplastic put back down.
The tape,
So there was some delay getting that ready to go, cause they wanna make sure they had some of those areas bermed before they started
Sure.
having the striping go down and so on and so forth. So, there was a little bit of logistics, but we did receive a couple phone calls and that's what the.
And I had told individuals that asked me that it's a county project, it's not a township project, but yet they live on the township side or they live on the city side.
Right, and that correlates to, and we run into that quite often of a county maintained road versus a township maintained road, and that happens throughout the township.
Okay.
So,
The second question was on the street sweeper, so as you're putting water down and sweeping up, do you have to do any oil separation or not?
no, so where that goes into, we have a bin specifically for that. And so we put it in there, so everything kind of stays in there, the water filters out of it. City's been using ours obviously as well right now because of 9 acres, so.
Right.
And for the amount that we've gone through a lot this year just because the city's been assisting us in filling that bin, but for ours, we don't really come back with a whole bunch of it, but, that's where that goes.
Okay.
Anything else?
Mr. Schroeder, you want to give them an update on this room here?
So the air conditioner here is not functioning. So we just replaced one earlier this summer. I don't know if you remember when we did that purchase request, rooftop unit. This one compressor has locked up. Being 20 years old, it runs on R22, which is no longer,
Yeah, obsolete.
yeah. So I don't have the quote right now, but we are gonna be looking at doing a replacement for this unit. It's really the only way to go. It's a twin unit, so it's gonna be a higher cost. In my estimation, I think it's probably somewhere in the $30,000 range, somewhere lower than that. We won't go above that in my estimation, but that's kind of where we stand right now. Now, again, I don't have a quote, so if you look at this, if I get a quote tomorrow, we're still 2 weeks out till we can get back to the board for approval. So I'm not sure.
Mr. Rushing, should we do
Yeah, one of the recommendations would be
Make
if
a
we could have a
motion not to
motion not to exceed, so that way we can get it ordered and not delay it for about another 2 weeks.
Yep.
We use Boyle, that is our standard vendor. So my recommendation to the board be a motion to approve a purchase request not to exceed $30,000 for the replacement of the twin HVAC unit for the community room to Boyle, and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Okay. And do you think that's adequate, or we need to buffer that?
I think that's adequate. I went back and looked at the single unit to
Okay.
see what that price, and so I think that's an adequate area to be in.
Okay, just so we don't have to do it twice. Okay.
Perfect, so moved, all,
Second,
Mrs. Dean?
yes.
Mr. Kratz?
yes.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. Next is our fire department. Chief Anabos is here with the monthly report and a couple action items.
Mr. Rushing, I was just gonna ask if is there anything, that we need, should we jump to the fiscal officer? I know fiscal officer has a appointment that he needs to attend.
I think we have to.
You okay? Yeah. All right. Chief,
I'll be fast.
fire will.
That was your one option. I gave you an out.
If I get up and walk away, you'll know why.
I have 9 questions for you.
I changed my mind.
Our first item tonight is accepting the resignation of Lieutenant Nathan Arndt. Nathan has taken a job in Oakwood and is pursuing a slightly different career line. So we wish him well. We were able to see him Saturday at the Popcorn Festival, and he's probably been going to the Popcorn Festival longer than some of our younger folks have been around. So we'll wish him well, and with your approval of this motion, we'll accept his resignation.
I make a motion to accept the resignation of Lieutenant Nathan Arndt effective September 16th, 2024. Nathan Arndt is eligible for reemployment with Beavercreek Township.
Second,
I was just trying to kill time. Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Tom Kratz? Mr.
yes,
Kratz? okay.
yes, you're totally fine. Either way is good.
Thank you, Board. Next item for you tonight is a surplus resolution for hose, fire hose. If you've been around back, you'll notice we've got it all out here and ready to go. So upon acceptance of this resolution, we'll be putting it on GovDeals and getting rid of it.
I make a motion to accept resolution number 20240909-fire-B, a resolution finding certain township equipment to be surplus and to dispose of it.
Second,
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item is just informational. Just wanted to point out the good work of new Division Chief Polis. He worked with Chief Hawker to do, I think this is his first hurricane reimbursement from FEMA. And we were one of 9 departments to get the information in to get the first disbursement. That's out of 21 participating agencies. So they did a great job getting that together. And we may have already received the check. I just have not checked in with finance to see if they've actually received it in the mail. But it has been mailed. So we're pretty happy with that.
Thank you.
And then the rest of the items are our standard monthly report. A number of these you'll be familiar with because we've discussed them along the way. So the surgical emergency response team training, which was a big event for the month. Obviously the successful delivery, we're very proud of those guys, and we were able to recognize them earlier with Kettering. And then I have the community risk report. So if you have any questions on that, I'll hand that over to Mr. Grosjean to answer, if that's all right.
Yeah, just thank you to really everybody, but specifically the fire team that was out there, but also the auxiliary as far as at the Popcorn Festival, so did a nice job. The attendance was good. You had great weather yesterday, at least when I was there, and I had asked Chief just to say they were doing a demonstration of 2 things. One was a radio system and camera system provided by P&R, but then also there was a drone demonstration and some drone activity going on. And so we had talked about maybe exploring some options to enhance our drone capability.
Sure.
And be able to get to a scene maybe up to 5-6 miles away quickly and assess it before crews even arrived. So, good.
I heard you may or may not have read our Wendy's menu, so.
We did.
200 feet.
200 feet away, we got
Pretty impressive.
We picked the special off the menu,
Pretty impressive.
so.
Combo or just the special?
Just a smidge.
That's the biggie.
We're on a budget.
$5 bag, well, yeah, guilty myself.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you, Board,
Grogan.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
And speaking of Popcorn Festival Board, I do want to also commend a Public Service Department, all township staff that participated over the weekend. Our public service team had a great idea of getting these child-size safety vests that were a hit, as well as some mock-up hard hats. And we had an overwhelming amount of support. A lot of times having 4 or 5 people, donating their time and working for the township. So very, very appreciative of all the team.
Awesome.
The
Thank you.
vests were definitely a
Vests
hit.
were everyone was wearing vests, all those kids on Saturday.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Board. That's all I have this evening. And Ms. Frick is joining Viva Teams, but I do not believe she has any other items to add.
No, I don't know if you can hear me, but I don't have anything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fiscal Officer?
Thank you, Board. In response to our tax budget, this is the next step is the Budget Commission is authorizing us to essentially collect the taxes. So this gives authorization to do so. You see in there all our levies, and they're identified either when they expire or if they're indefinite, or what we call continuing levies as well. There is one typo. We are not collecting for 2023. We are collecting for 2025. So you can pass it as presented with that change, and that would be under the first line there, under where it says Beavercreek Township subdivision. I scratched it off on here and initialed it, so if you can initial it and sign it as well. Thank you.
Make a motion to accept Resolution 20240909-FIN-A, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor as amended.
Second.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
But I'll point out, it is different than that because we received this from the county, so the typo was from the county, so that's why I asked you to initial it.
Well noted. Anything else from the Fiscal Officer?
Oh,
That's all I have. Well, I'll hit it on the next board reports.
Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Did we do a call?
No. There was a motion by Mrs. Dean. Did you call the roll?
Yeah, I got a check marker.
You did? Okay.
He did. So be it. So
Great.
ordered.
Thank you.
Adjourned.
Okay. Other business, so MVRPC, was there anything shared or to be
No.
reported? Okay.
The annual report is out. We were all members, so you should have received that in your email, the 2023 annual report of MVRPC.
Okay.
And then the technical advisory committee agenda is in your packet.
That's it. Seems like, okay.
yeah, I have that too.
The opioid regional task force has not met, but as mentioned last meeting, Trustee Wallace did spearhead the subcommittee for the grants, and they met here at 61's in the community room to go over all the grants. But the full committee has yet to meet to officially vote to disperse those grants.
Okay. Greene County Regional Planning, nothing to report at this meeting. Executive Committee is next week. Health Department,
Next meeting is the first Thursday of October. The last meeting, there was nothing for Beavercreek Township. They had a presentation on WIC, and that was about it.
okay. School Superintendent, City Manager, I know we have a meeting coming, a joint meeting up on the,
That's correct. We have a
16th.
joint meeting next week, Monday, September 16th, 5 PM at the Senior Center off of Dayton Xenia.
Excuse me. Okay. Air Force Base Restoration Advisory Board.
So, 2 weeks ago, Board, I gave you the PowerPoint presentation from our last meeting on some of the cleanup efforts. This is receiving a lot more attention, including national press. USA Today was there and interviewed both the engineering staff as well as myself as the civilian co-chair. So, it's open to the public. This information is shared to all the regions that receive in regards to the PFAS water issue. So Greene County gets the information as well as Montgomery County. So you'll see that there are several sites they're working on. The good news is that they are making efforts. There is a concerned area by the Mad River. They're trying to track down where that PFAS is coming from. It is north of the fire department training center. So,
It's upstream.
yeah, so they're gonna be looking to see where that source is coming from. And it could be just groundwater, the right direction it's moving, so.
Sure.
But
Okay,
that's all I have.
thank you. Greene County Water Wastewater Committee.
Yeah, just a brief update. This is the month in which Greene County Sanitary Engineering is going to be transitioning to softened water. Again, this process is through reverse osmosis, no additional chemicals in the actual water. The phasing in of this is about 12-week period. So with that, about next 3 months, you're going to see, on average, the hardness of the grains about at 27 grains. Down to their target is between 6 and 8 grains. I have reached out to Sanitary to invite them to give a presentation to the board to go in a little bit more detail about the process, and so that you can be ambassadors to, as you communicate with your constituents on the water softening process. The county does recommend that, in order to maximize your dollars, potentially at the end of the 12-week implementation, to bypass your water softener if you already have one, to see if that is to your liking. But obviously, if you have a softener, that will always be able to achieve higher than what will come from the tap, so to speak. So if you want to polish it, you get that grains down from 8 down to even lower, a softener would still be your advantage. But for those that have lived with hard water for many, many, many years, this is going to be a benefit to all. So we're trying to coordinate on a date at our potentially next meeting, or potentially first meeting in October, where Sanitary Engineering will give a presentation to go into that further. But softened water is coming this month from the county.
Okay. While we're on that water topic, and whoever in the room can help, so yourself, Mr. Rushing, or
Absolutely.
Andy, but as far as just to make sure this gentleman has a roadmap of who to go to at the county to explore the options for tapping in to county water. So I didn't mean to bypass that earlier, so. Okay.
Happy to.
Investment Oversight Committee, nothing to report unless, nothing to report this meeting. Greene County 911 Advisory Committee, unless you had something from the subcommittee that you're on, I had nothing to report from.
No, Chief Ambus, I don't think there's any news from Chief Feaster on the 911 side.
Other than levy language discussions and.
Correct. On the
limitations.
dispatch side, there is further discussion about the city of Beaver Creek's legal ability to utilize their current levy for police services. If that levy language permits them to essentially use it for non-city-owned functions,
Right.
i.e. contracting a dispatch center. Currently, right now, their legal opinion is not. So we are in a holding pattern until another legal opinion supersedes that, or difference of opinion.
But our dispatch partner is City of Beavercreek, and we have no service level issue at the time.
No,
That we're
no.
trying to solve, and so we're okay with the status quo until the status quo. will
Absolutely.
change.
We're
Okay.
very appreciative of their services.
Great, thank you. Otherwise, unless there's anything else to come before the board, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session under Ohio Revised Code, section 121.22 G2, to consider the purchase of property for public purposes.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Pratt?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. If you see these gentlemen, they'll help get you.
Thank you, board. A motion to close executive session and reconvene the regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
That's all we have this evening, board.
Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Discussion, I'd like to wish Michelle Zahariaf a very happy birthday.
Yes.
Tell her
Happy
I'd watch
birthday,
the meeting.
Michelle.
Thank you, board. Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Motion adjourned.